Hi friends, this is Karen with Blue Rooster Farm, and today we are going to be making German chocolate pie. If you like German chocolate cake, coconut, pecans, chocolate, you'll like this pie. And it's a really good pie. I found this recipe probably 20 years ago. And if you like chocolate cream pie, you will like this. It's a lot thicker and it's very rich. One of the things I don't like about chocolate cream pies and cream pies is it takes a little bit to bake. You have to do the pie crust, you bake the pie crust separately, you let the pie crust cool, then you make your filling, you put your filling on the stove top, then you pour it into your cooled pie crust, then you let it cool, then you top it, or if you want meringue on it, you put meringue and you put it back in the oven. There's quite a few steps to go through, and it is one that takes a while, and then you let it chill. And so it's one that if I make a cream pie, we're not planning on eating it that day. We're going to be eating it the next day, or I have to bake it really early in the morning. But with this pie, you can make it and you can enjoy it that same day. And you bake the pie crust and the filling all at the same time in the oven. So let me show you this recipe. If you haven't seen my video that I just released today about making pie crust, I have a pie crust video, and we made this pie crust right here. So you can watch that to see how we do our pie crust. You can use a refrigerated pie crust that you get in the refrigerated section at your store, or you can use a frozen pie crust. This uses an unbaked pie crust because it's going to bake with the pie, okay? All right, so let me see. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some noisy stuff right now. This is gonna take a cup of pecans. Now you can use any kind of nuts, walnuts, English walnuts, almonds. We like pecans, and so we're gonna make pecans. So I've got the video so that I think you can see. I'll drop it down a little bit further. I wanna make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just gonna chop these up real quickly, and I'm just gonna use my, of course, Pampered Chef choppers. And I want this to be not very fine. I want it to be pretty coarse because I want to be able to get a big chunk of pecan in my bites. So let me see. If you like yours finer, you just chop it the way you like it. Okay, so I've got some, all of them are chopped, at least some finer than others. So that's how I like to chop it. Okay, we got that taken care of. Now the first thing we're going to do is we are going to take, let me grab my recipe here so I can make sure I'm telling you everything correct. And this recipe will be at the end of our video. You can take a screenshot, and that way you'll have it for yourself. Let's see, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 1/4 cup of butter, which is 1/2 of a stick of butter. And I realized just a second ago I didn't have any butter in the refrigerator, so I had to run out to the freezer and grab one. So this is going to be a little bit hard, but I'm just going to cut it in half. Let's see if I can without hurting myself. There we go. And put that 1/2 stick of butter right here. Then we're going to also put in here chocolate. Now this recipe calls for 4 ounces of German chocolate. Now German chocolate is a sweeter, lighter chocolate, and so if you like that, that's what you can use. That's what this pie originally had. We usually don't have German chocolate on hand, but I always have some kind of other chocolate, whether it be semi-sweet chocolate chunks or some of the bars, and I can use that, or you can use cocoa. I've used cocoa many times. So what I've got here is just some Baker's, I think this is bittersweet, and I think this is Ghirardelli. These are just pieces that I had left over from other recipes that I was making, and I have some semi-sweet chocolate chips, and I'm just going to put all of those in here. The more chocolate you add, the more fudgier your cake is, the less you add, the lighter chocolate it will be. So it's just up to your taste. So we've got our half a stick of butter. We've got at least 4 ounces of chocolate in there. We have probably more. And we're gonna melt this in the microwave. And we'll just put it on a fairly low setting, or we can put it on high and then check it every 30 seconds or so. So let's do that. I'm gonna start with a minute. And you know your microwave, so your microwaves might be a little different. So I'm gonna bring it back up here just a little bit so I can see you. Then while that's melting, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our bowl, and you don't need to use a mixer with this because it's gonna be a really loose batter. It's gonna be really thin. And we're gonna take a regular can of evaporated milk, not sweetened condensed, just regular evaporated. And this is 12 fluid ounces. And we're gonna open it up. And I just realized I don't have my eggs, so I'm gonna grab a couple of eggs. Let me use my pinchers here. Okay. Grab a couple eggs. Okay, that was our microwave. Let's check and see how that is doing. I can feel it getting warm. The glass is getting warm. Everything's still solid except anything touching the glass. So we'll stick it in. This time we'll do it for 30 seconds. Okay. We're going to need 2 eggs. And we're going to start by adding some sugar to this bowl. We are going to add 1½ cups of sugar. There's 1. And there's 1/2. Check our chocolate. Oh yeah, we're getting melty now. Okay, the butter has melted. The chocolate is still working. So we'll put it in for another 30 seconds. Okay, and to this we're going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I've got my salt right here, 1/2 teaspoon. Throw that in. Grab my cornstarch. I said 3 tablespoons. I usually have it a little bit heaping. I want mine pretty thick. All right, let's see if this is ready. I think it might be. Okay, let's just stir that. Let you see it. I've got one little chunk in there, but I think it's hot enough that it will melt here while it's sitting for a few minutes. All right, that looks delicious. Okay, let's just let that sit there. Go ahead and turn my oven on. My oven needs to be on 375. Okay. here. And we have our salt, our sugar, and our cornstarch. We want to mix that up nicely because we want to get that cornstarch mixed in with the sugar so that we don't have lumps of cornstarch. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my eggs to this. 2 eggs, large eggs. So they're mixed in with the sugar. It looks like that. And we'll add a little vanilla. And this calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla. You can add more. I like to add 1 teaspoon, and then I like to add about a half a teaspoon of almond. If you know me and my chocolate, I like to always add a little bit of almond with that. There we go. Stir that in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my chocolate to this because they're about the same thickness and I think they will incorporate a little better. If you add your milk next and then add that, that's fine too. The chocolate will have a tendency to separate a little bit, but it's okay. It fixes itself in the oven. We make this pie at Christmas and Thanksgiving, and it's always a hit. And like I said, it's easy to put together. Okay, and let's see, and that makes a nice chocolate mixture. Okay, get it all incorporated. Now what we're going to do is we are going to add our evaporated milk, and we're going to add that whole can. But I'm going to add a little bit first so that we can mix it and make it smooth easily. If I add it all together, it takes a little bit longer to get it smoothed out. So that thins it out a little bit. Add a little more. Okay, getting a little softer. I think I can go ahead and add the rest. Okay, so there is our 12 fluid ounce can of evaporated milk, not sweetened condensed. Now, if you didn't have evaporated milk, I'm sure you could use regular milk. It just won't be quite as rich tasting, but I doubt you'll even notice. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our unbaked pie shell. I'll make sure I've got all of it off the sides and off the bottom. Okay, and we're just going to pour this into our pie shell. Now, if your pie shell is not very deep, you won't be able to get all of it in there, but if you've got a big, deep pie shell, you'll be fine. Okay, scoot that over here so you can see it right there. Okay, so right now it's really loose, it's very watery. Okay, but don't worry, that will thicken up. Now we need to add our coconut and our pecans. Remember, I had a cup of half a cup of chopped nuts. Actually, I used a cup of chopped nuts, and it's asking for 1 1/3 cup of coconut, and I'm just going to estimate how much I have here. You don't have to use sweetened, you don't have to use plain, you could use either kind. I've got a little bit of sweetened and I've got a little bit of plain, so I'll just use both. I'm going to sprinkle the sweetened on there. And I know you're saying you're not measuring. This is whatever you like, and I'm used to making this, so I know how much. The directions do call for 1 1/3 cup of shredded coconut. This is the unsweetened coconut. Now, if you didn't like coconut, you could leave the coconut off. I know, and nuts too. You could leave the nuts off and just make a chocolate pie. My son used to not like pecans, and so we would do half of it with pecans and half of it without pecans. And that is my dryer. Okay. Now, it's all sitting on top of the pie, which is fine. You could do it that way, but I like to get a little bit into the batter. So I just take, and with a knife, just push it down so that you're going to get some down into that batter. And it is now ready for the oven. Again, the oven is set for 375 degrees. It says 45 to 50 minutes until the center is set. And my oven, I sometimes just do it at 350 and then it takes a little longer. We'll see what 375 does. It should be fine in that amount of time. So let me stick it in. And I will bring you back when the pie's ready to come out of the oven. All right, welcome back. Look what I just pulled out of the oven. Doesn't that look delicious? Now, when I touch it, especially around the edges, it's pretty firm. If I take a knife, it comes out a little bit loose, but it's going to finish cooking while it's sitting, okay? It is, otherwise, it is firm. Just a little bit of a jiggle in the middle. Now you'll want it to cool down for about an hour if you want to eat it warm, because it'll still be a little warm then. If you want to eat it cold, after it cools off, you can put it in the refrigerator and you can serve it. We like to put some ice cream on it. You could add whipped cream, whatever you want, but it's delicious. I hope you try this recipe and share how you like it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.